Welcome to Flash Tutorial Request 62, More Scenes. It's a follow-up to the tutorial 61, which was using scenes, and that's what I have opened on my computer. I'm going back to the main timeline, selecting scene 1, and I'm going to put an action layer on each scene. So lock the layers, select the top layer, insert a layer, call it AS as an action script. Select frame 1, open the action panel, and put in a stop. STOP, open close bracket, semicolon. Open scene 2. This layer here, if you still have it, click it and drag it to the top. If not, put a new layer in. Lock all layers, call this action script, AS. Select frame 1, put in a stop, STOP, open close, semicolon. Select scene 3. Do the same thing, put that layer on top, the unused layer, call it AS. Select the very first frame here and put in a stop, STOP, open close semicolon, and scene 4, select this unused layer, or make one if you don't have it, AS, frame 1, I'm locking all my layers, and put a stop, STOP, open close semicolon. Now I'm going to go back to scene 1, and I'm just going to test it out, and it should stop on scene 1, but I want to make sure I have no errors yet with my code, and that's where it stops, on frame 1. Select the actions frame, open the actions panel, and type this code. We're going to make a button called circle R underscore BTN period. Add event listener, small a, capital E, capital L, turns blue if it's spelt right. Open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, that turns blue if it's spelt right. Period. Capital C, capital L, capital I, capital C, capital K, turns blue. Comma, I'm calling this play, capital PLAY, close bracket, semicolon. Function, FUNCTION, turns purple. Copy, play, paste it in here. Open bracket, event, EVENT, turns blue. Colon, mouse event, you can just copy mouse event and paste it in. Close bracket, colon, void, void turns the same color as function. Open curly bracket, and I'm saying go to and play. Small g, small t, capital A, capital P, open bracket 2, close bracket, semicolon, and by now this last curly bracket automatically came in for you. If not, put it in. So what's going to happen is when I press this button after we make it, we're going to jump to frame 2 of this scene 1, and it's going to go all the way up to the end of scene 1. It's going to start scene 2 and stop because we have a stop on it. So let's make this button. So let's copy this name, circ button. Right click, copy. Go back to the timeline, make sure all the layers are locked. Select this scenes layer, insert a layer, call it buttons, BUTT. Select frame 1, and we're going to make a little button right here. So I don't care what colors you use, and I don't care what shape you use. I have my rectangle selected, so I'm going to hold my shift down, make a little square. Pick up my selection tool, highlight it, modify, convert it to a symbol, make sure button is selected here, and paste in that name we copied. There it is. Say OK. Open the properties panel. There's that button, and we have to give it an instance name because we wrote code on it. Paste it in here. So now I'll tell it to start, and it'll sit on frame 1. And when I press it, we'll jump to go through that sequence and up to frame 30. Then we'll go to scene 2. Pretty simple. Now, this is what gets interesting. Let's go and look at scene 2 for a minute. Scene 2 has 40 frames. So if I wanted to jump to this frame 20 on scene 2, so let's go back to scene 1. Right here, this is frame 30. But the next scene, okay, so I got 30 here. Go to scene 2. This becomes 31, 32, 33, 34, like that. So 20 added onto 30. This would in reality be frame 50. Now if you got it, you got it. If not, you're scratching your head. So let's go back and we'll show you. Go back to scene 1. Open this actions panel. And instead of go to and play frame 2, let's go to go to and play and stop on frame 50. So make this stop, capital S-T-O-P. So now when we first turn it on, it'll stay at frame 1 on scene 1. Then when I press the button, I'm going to jump up to frame 20 on scene 2. Watch. All the way up to 20. So now we know that scene 2 has a total of 40 frames. We know that scene 1 has 30 frames, so those two scenes have 70 frames. So let's see what happens if I go to scene 1 action script and go up to 80 and stop. Okay, up to 80 and stop. Test movie, test. And we jump into scene 3 all the way up to block 10, which makes sense. Scene 1 had 30 frames. Scene 2 had 40, which is 70, plus 10 more. That's where the 80 comes from. So if I look at scene 3 again, scene 3 has 50. So the first one had 30, plus 40 is 70, plus 50 is 120. So if I went like 140, let's go back to that scene 1. And let's put 140 in. And we should jump up to that frame on scene 4. It's frame 20. 30 plus 40 plus 50 plus 20. Now, I don't think you would ever want to do that, but just trying to show you that wherever you stop on a scene, the next frame is automatically considered to be the next frame on the next scene. So this would be the way not to do it. You could use this. So let's put a couple of forward slashes in front of here just to get rid of that. So let's say I want to jump to a frame. I'm on scene 1, and let's say I want to jump to a frame in scene 2. This is the code you would use. Type, type, type. Movie clip, capital M, capital C, turns blue. Open bracket, this period root, small t-h-i-s, period, small r-o-o-t, close bracket. That's just saying here where we are now on this main route, where that means the main timeline route. Period. Go to and stop. That's the same as that go to and stop. Open bracket. This is the frame number, frame 10, comma, and this is scene 2. Quotation, scene 2, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon. Now, if you gave the scene a name, that's what you'd have to put in here. And when you use scenes, you'd give a name like introduction, if it was a story, the opening scene, the house burns down, or something meaningful to that scene. But make sure it's spelt exactly as it appears in here, and spaces included. So now when we hit that button, we're going to jump to frame 10, scene 2. So frame 10, scene 2. Okay, let's do another one. Let's go to frame 40 on scene 4. I think you got this. Control, test movie, test. Scene 4, 40. Alright, so let's copy this line. Actually, let's copy all this. Copy it. Let's go up to scene 3 for a minute. And open the actions panel. Couple enters here and paste it in. And let's call this circle blue. And let's say play 3. Just give it different names. Play 3. And let's have this send me back to frame 10 on scene 1. But now I got to make this circle B got button. So copy this. Select the numbers. Insert a layer. Call it button again. Select frame 1. Come down here. Pick up whatever shape you want. Highlight it, modify, convert it to a symbol, make sure button is selected, paste in that name that we're already using for code, say OK, and make sure you put that in the properties panel. Now, what we got to do now is got to be able to get to this scene 3 frame 1. So let's go back to scene 1, open that actions panel, make this frame 1, scene 3. So test the movie, test, hopefully no errors. This will jump me to scene 3, frame 1. And now this will jump me back to scene 10 of, scene 1, frame 10. I think you have it. One more thing I want to show you. We're on scene 3 for a minute. Scene 3. Let's go in the code here on this button here. And this is 50 frames long. Okay. And if I open the code up, I'm not going to use this code here, so I want a couple forward slashes. And first of all, let's say, get rid of those. Let's say go to and stop frame 40. So if it's 50 frames long, it's going to go up to frame 40 here and stop. So let's see if that works first of all. I click this. This takes me to that frame 1 on scene 3. Now this one should take me to frame 40. Okay. Now, let's go back to that action script. And there's 50 frames. What's going to happen if I say go to frame 60? Control, test movie, test. This is going to send me to frame 1. Now, when I click this, it's going to send me to scene 3, frame 60. But there's only 50 frames, so it goes to frame 10 of scene 4. So when you use that code, the reference point is the scene you're on, frame 1. Okay? Now there's one more thing I want to cover. Let's lock all the layers. I'm on scene 3. Select the buttons layer, insert a layer, and call it frame FRM label, LAB. And let's go up to frame 30-ish somewhere. Frame 30-ish. And let's insert a keyframe. And let's call this test, just for lack of. And open the frame, open the actions panel. I got this frame 30 keyframe on my frames label layer. And I'm going to put in here test, T-E-S-T. Copy that. Now go back to scene 1. Let's open the actions layer. And let's go back to this format here. And instead of putting a number in here, let's put in the format where we put a quotation mark. I'm pasting in that frame name, I call it test, and another quotation mark. So now we're telling it by frame labels where to go. So now when I press this button on scene 1, I'm going to jump to this, which was frame 30, I believe. Control test movie test. I click here and I jump to frame 30, and that was done by frame labels. I think that's enough. I pretty well covered the majority of the information you need to know. I hope you learned something from these tutorials, and I hope you use what you learned.